Today is August 4th, it is 6:06, and I move that the town board enter executive session in order to discuss an employment matter and as well a personnel matter.
Second.
We don't need.
We don't need. So we're in regular.
So we're gonna. 6 o'clock, a little bit after 6 o'clock. And the town board went into executive session in order to discuss a personnel matter and to conduct an interview. We are waiting on 2 council people to join us here, and we'll resume the meeting by picking up with resolutions.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about your foot. Here.
Sorry. All right, I'm going to move us into resolutions and read through a few of these. The first resolution is accepting the resignation of a member of CSAC. Be it resolved to accept the resignation of Paula Miller from the Como Stewardship Advisory Committee, CSAC, and be it further resolved to thank Paula Miller for her years of dedicated service to the town of Woodstock.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution appointing a new member of CSAC. Be it resolved to appoint Duncan Schmidt as a member of the Como Stewardship Advisory Committee, CSAC, effective immediately for a term ending December 31st, 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution hiring an engineering firm. So this engineering firm has worked with our highway department in the past. And during the flooding that happened, there was a problem on Silver Hollow Road where there's a chunk of road missing. And they have the relevant experience to help us investigate what the proper solution is. So this resolution is going to bring them on board to help us again. Whereas the town of Woodstock periodically requires professional engineering services to support the planning, design, review, and implementation of various municipal projects. And whereas Steinmeier Engineering, a professional engineering firm with experience in municipal engineering and infrastructure projects, has the qualifications and expertise necessary to assist the town with such services. And whereas the town board has determined that engaging Steinmeier Engineering is in the best interest of the town and its residents, now therefore be it resolved that the Woodstock Town Board hereby authorizes the retention of Steinmeier Engineering to provide professional engineering services for certain town projects as requested and authorized by the town board and or designated town officials. And be it further resolved that Steinmeier Engineering shall be compensated at the hourly rate not to exceed $195 an hour pursuant to the terms of an agreed upon or professional services agreement. And be it further resolved that the town supervisor is authorized to execute any and all documents necessary to effectuate this engagement on behalf of the town.
First, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And we are appointing a co-chair to the Woodstock Environmental Commission. The Environmental Commission has taken on massive responsibilities. They're helping us look at sludge, shady, Penchurch Road, multiple projects that are new and exciting. And as they're growing, the leadership has asked for help from someone on the commission to help divide up some of the chair work. So that's what this resolution is going to do. Whereas the town of Woodstock values the important work of the Woodstock Environmental Commission in advising the town on environmental stewardship, conservation, sustainability, and natural resource protection. And whereas Arlene Weissman has demonstrated a strong commitment to environmental issues and community service and has contributed meaningfully to the work of the commission. And whereas the town board wishes to recognize her leadership and dedication by appointing her to serve in a leadership role on the commission. Now therefore be it resolved that the Woodstock Town Board hereby appoints Arlene Weissman to serve as co-chair of the Woodstock Environmental Commission, effective immediately, to serve alongside the current commission leadership, that's Susan Painter, in guiding the commission's activities and advancing its mission on behalf of the town and its residents. Be it further resolved that the county board extends its appreciation to Ms. Weissman for her willingness to serve and looks forward to her continued contributions to protecting and enhancing Woodstock's environmental resources.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay, I think the name might be misspelled. Oh, two S's.
Is that two S's? Okay.
There's two of them. I think it's two S's, yes.
Okay. The next resolution, actually, Councilperson Osmond will read.
Appointment of town clerk designated and reorganization of town clerk's office. Whereas town clerk Jacqueline Irving resigned effective October 31st, 2025, prior to completion of her elected term, creating a vacancy in the office of town clerk. And whereas pursuant to town law, section 32, A, the town board authorized first deputy town clerk Megan Raimondo to assume the formal statutory, administrative, and operational duties of the town clerk, including her appointment of registrar of vital statistics, records management officer, tax collector, and records access officer by resolution 178-2025, adopted November 18th, 2025, and reaffirmed on January 6th, 2026 during the actual meetings. And whereas pursuant to town law section 34, parentheses 4, the town board is authorized to fill a vacancy in the office of town clerk by appointment until the next biennial town election. And whereas the town board previously determined not to make such an appointment, electing instead to rely on first deputy town clerk during the period of transition leading to the November 2026 general election. Whereas Rebecca Brooks won the Democratic primary for town clerk on June 23rd, 2026, and is running unopposed in the November 3rd, 2026 general election, such that her election as town clerk is anticipated. And whereas the town board finds it to be in the best interests of the town to appoint Rebecca Brooks as acting town clerk effective August 18th, 2026, to ensure a orderly transition, continuity of services to the public. Whereas upon the appointment of Rebecca Brooks as town clerk, the town board finds it appropriate to return Megan Raimondo to her position as first deputy town clerk at the first deputy town clerk salary, and to conform to Michelle Severard in her position as second deputy town clerk at her established rate of compensation. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board of the town of Woodstock hereby appoints Rebecca Brooks as acting town clerk of the town of Woodstock, effective August 18th, 2026, with compensation pursuant to the adopted 2026 town budget. And be it further resolved, that Rebecca Brooks is hereby appointed registrar of vital statistics, records management officer, tax collector, and records access officer effective the same date, superseding the appointments of Megan Raimondo to those roles as authorized by resolution 178-2025 and resolution 04-2026. And be it further resolved that effective the same date, Megan Raimondo shall return to the position of first deputy town clerk with compensation of the first deputy town clerk rate established in the adopted 2026 budget. And be it further resolved that Michelle Severard is confirmed with second deputy town clerk with compensation at her established rate. And be it further resolved, town board thanks Megan Raimondo for her dedicated service in assuming the full responsibilities of the town clerk's office during this period of transition. May I have a second?
Can we discuss?
Oh, yes, no, I said, once it was, yeah, second discussion.
I guess I'll second and discuss. So I'm gonna speak personally for a little bit here because I think this is a really uncomfortable resolution. I think for a lot of people in the room, it's uncomfortable too. I really like Megan personally. This is probably in all the votes that we've had here, the hardest vote that I have to make a decision on. But in weighing my emotional side and my rational side, and looking at the next resolution that coming right after this. There's a lot of moving parts to this, and the reason that I will be voting to do this comes from an understanding that we have grants in the wings that are coming to us that are going to be subject to an audit, that we have multiple departments that need to be modernized and digitized and streamlined.
It sucks that I make this decision right now, and I think that other people agree. But in terms of where I know that Megan is running for supervisor and I wish her all the luck in that in the world, I really do. But once it's become clear that we have no one else running against Rebecca, and that this is the person that's going to be dealing with the audit firms, and this is the person that's going to be dealing with how we manage grant money and how we report on it. I don't think that not taking the opportunity to get that person in and trained as soon as possible is, I think it would be irresponsible to act with my heart and say, Megan's fucking awesome, sorry for cursing. But it would be irresponsible to say that, you know, Megan's awesome and I just wanna keep seeing her every day in that role. I don't think that that is a responsible decision to make. So there was a lot of weight for me and how I looked at this resolution. And I just wanted to say that.
I'll follow up to say that I totally support what Elaine has said, and I think that Megan is a great person, and I do feel that this is for the greater good, because not only will, as Lily said, we're facing an audit, and that there's going to be a lot of scrutiny of documents, and some of these documents, through no fault of anyone's, that's the way they've been trained, some of these documents are actually handwritten in various departments in the town. And an audit firm's not going to be able to transcribe. There's going to have to be a lot of work happening quickly, and so an audit firm can come in and effectively crush spreadsheets and go through financial reports and QuickBook printouts and things like that, and I think that, you know, in making a decision like this and really thinking about the greater good, it's bringing additional skills to the town at a time when it's really important. So I just wanted to add that, and I think that I do believe that our entire clerk's office can be a really great high functioning team for the good of the town.
I guess I'll say it. I totally love Megan and Michelle. And I totally, and certainly as webmaster, I work with Megan all the time. I have, everything's been wonderful. As far as I'm concerned, everything's been wonderful in the clerk's office. And, but I also believe in democracy, and the people did speak. And the people said, Rebecca is gonna bring something that people said that they want. And so, you know, it's, you know, change is gonna happen, change is gonna happen, and there are reasons why it makes sense for the change to happen now. I was happy with the way things were, that the people did speak in democracy, and I certainly know, I haven't worked closely with Rebecca, I've worked closely with Michelle and Megan, I know they're both wonderful. Everybody who has worked closely with Rebecca knows she's wonderful, so it's just a matter of time before all the wonderful happens all together. But it's a painful vote for me, because you know, I was certainly happy with the way things were, because that's where I was working, that's the space I was working with. But there's more than one way to do things, and I know Rebecca has a lot of vision that she had campaigned on, and we'll see all that coming to fruition. So it's it makes sense logically, it's heart-wise, it's a difficult vote, but logically, it makes sense for the reasons that you're going to say.
I mean, just briefly, to me, this logic, and it's about setting up the next person that appears to be the town clerk to get a chance to get their bearings about them before January 1st. It just doesn't feel there were a race of any sort. I would never, you know, this would not be an issue, be a no. But it's just about, this is the clear person that it will likely be, and if that something freak happens and she's not, then whoever else will be in there January 1st. But I feel like it sets her up, whoever the person would be, to get in and get a lay of the land. And I think as a town, we want someone to be equipped to fulfill the role that you're voting for. So that's for me, it's certainly that.
Any other discussion?
One way to see.
Mayor, just thank you. All in favor, please?
Aye.
Abstain.
Aye. It passes.
Resolution authorizing a transfer from general unassigned fund balance for a financial risk assessment. Whereas the town of Woodstock has not undergone an independent audit or risk assessment in recent years and has not had the benefit of ongoing accounting review, input, or professional financial oversight. And whereas the town board has determined that obtaining professional audit and risk assessment services is necessary to review the town's financial records, strengthen internal controls, ensure compliance with financial reporting requirements, and provide recommendations for sound fiscal management. And whereas the town board wishes to engage Clifton Larson Allen LLP to conduct an independent risk assessment of the town's financial records. And whereas funds are available in the general fund unassigned fund balance for this purpose, now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Woodstock hereby authorizes the transfer of 48,000 from the general fund unassigned fund balance to account A01220.42014 for audit and related accounting services. And be it further resolved that the town board hereby authorizes the engagement of Clifton Larson Allen LLP to perform a risk assessment audit of the town's financial records, financial controls, and budget-related practices, and provide such related professional services as may be necessary. And be it further resolved that the town supervisor, finance department, and other appropriate town officials are authorized to make the necessary budget entries and take all actions required to implement this resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And you'll note, the word is also in this resolution, assessment, so it's going to go in a way deeper than just an audit. An audit would randomly, the town can't afford, the audit that we probably should have. But what this risk assessment is actually going to do is we will conduct an audit, but we're also going to conduct an assessment of how controls are in place or not in place to ensure that there are no mechanisms by which taxpayer money could be siphoned or moved around from place to place without something catching it, so that the public could be rest assured. And the first paragraph was quite interesting because while the town has been hiring an accounting firm, the accounting firm has not done accounting services. What the accounting firm has been doing and getting paid to do through no fault of their own, just how it's been run, is that the accounting firm has taken the numbers that were provided to them and kind of made them into a format that could be uploaded into county portals. So there was no real oversight or collaboration with somebody who could have a fresh perspective for a very, very long time. And so this will bring us back to where we are and where we need to be and give us a roadmap to get to where we need to be. So it's an important resolution and an important step for the town. Resolution authorizing the town of Woodstock to apply. Oh, did we vote? We didn't vote. Was there a second? Was there a vote? There was a vote.
We did vote, okay, okay, sorry, I'm so used to you guys later for the vote. I apologize. I'm so intent on what they were saying.
Megan, did you get a vote? Thank you. Okay. Alright. Resolution authorizing the town of Woodstock to apply for funding to conduct a tree inventory and develop a community forest management plan. Whereas the town of Woodstock recognizes that its street trees, trail corridor trees, and landscaped area trees provide significant environmental, economic, aesthetic, and public health benefits to residents and visitors. And whereas effective urban forest management requires accurate and current information regarding the location, conditions, species, composition, and maintenance needs of community trees. And whereas comprehensive tree inventories and community forest management plans are essential tools for promoting the long-term health, resilience, and sustainability of the town's urban forest resources. And whereas grant funding is available through the Urban and Community Forestry Grant Program to support municipal efforts to inventory trees and develop forest management plans. And whereas the town of Woodstock seeks to inventory select street, trail, and landscaped area trees. and use the resulting data to develop a community forest management plan that will guide future tree planting, maintenance, risk management, climate resilience, and stewardship activities. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Woodstock hereby authorizes the submission of an application for urban and community forestry grant funding for the purpose of conducting an inventory of selected Woodstock street, trail, and landscape area trees and developing a community forest management plan. And be it further resolved that the town board designates the town supervisor or their designee as an authorized representative of the town to execute all grant application materials, contracts, certifications, and other documents necessary to apply for and administer the grant if awarded. And be it further resolved that the town of Woodstock commits to fulfilling all grant requirements and to utilizing the inventory and management plan to support the responsible stewardship of the town's community forest resources.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, and Councilperson Ricky, would you like to say a few words? I know you worked very hard on this.
Yeah, I haven't, and the work is still in progress. And I put out a map for my printer broke, so I didn't have one for everybody's time. But you guys can share. But it's and Michael is here. I've been working, not tree committee liaison, but I thought I could help the tree committee with this grant. Been working with Michael, been working with one of the tree committee members, Dr. Stein. We have a wonderful DEC expert who's been helping us, Amy McKenzie. And so what we're looking at, and the tree committee brought this forward. So the tree committee brought forward the idea that if we can inventory a lot of our trees, and a street tree is a tree within 10 feet of the street edge, and the landscape area is, if you have a mowed area, we can really know what our trees are all about. We can really know the species, and it's really all across town. It's the highway department was interested in having some trees looked at to get a professional, tell them what needs preventive, work. You don't want a tree coming down in a storm, you want to know it ahead of time, get it down when it's convenient, not when you have a crisis going on. So the highway department gave 5 streets that they wanted to have included in the grant. We'd like to include all of the Cuomo town streets. We're including everything covered by the tree law, which is all of 212 from Wittenberg Road down to Flockman Lane, but also we're going one step further because we do have the Gateway District, we should take it to Chestnut Hill Road, and then all of 375 is within the town of Woodstock. We can just get a New York State permit to be able to do things on the state roads. We also have, the landscaped areas, the Cuomo is the big one. We have the Cuomo Trail, we have this Cuomo area, we have on Rock City Road, we have Old NUB Field, we have the cemetery. Cemetery. So we have, so there's a lot of areas. It's a pretty ambitious plan. We've already got a quote. We've already got my great thanks to Anola for her support on this, because I've been borrowing her laptop, Yvonne's laptop. I've already been on the grant thing. And maybe I shouldn't say this, but perhaps most amazingly of all, Michael and I are getting along. We're working together on the grant. Who knew? And we're
Cutting out trees can bring people.
yeah. There you go. And we're almost there. We're still getting loose ends done. But my thanks to certainly Michael, Akva, and Amy McKenzie, who's been very the core of things.
Thank you very much. All right, and that was our last resolution. We're gonna move on to discussion. So Councilperson Crowcroft wants to bring up for discussion a good cause conviction law.
Yeah, so I think not all of us are aware, I think a lot of us are aware that a lot of long-term rentals are changing hands and we're seeing some unfortunate consequences of that. Some long-term residents are being displaced. I know there was internal discussion about adopting this and adopting this law in March, and it kind of fell by the wayside, but I feel like it's more important now than ever, and it's a very small yet well vetted option for us. And so basically the good cause eviction law, it's we would be the smallest town in New York State adopting it at this point. It is currently Albany, Kingston, Poughkeepsie, Ithaca, Beacon, and Newburgh have adopted it. And basically what it does, it says if you're paying your rent on time and you are overall good tenant, you're not violating any of the clauses of the lease, and you have the ability to renew your lease and stay in your home. It also challenges rent hikes, so what it does is it bases what a fair rent hike is on the consumer price index, which is for our area, it's basically a measure of inflation. So like Ulster County is seeing a rent increase or an inflation rate of about 4.3%. So it allows rent increases that take the consumer price index plus 5%. So for our area, it would be between 9 and 10% a year would be their annual rent increase, which is way better than the 30, 40, 50% that we're seeing currently across the board. And it also closes LLC loopholes because a lot of times there will be multiple, so LLCs will own maybe 10 here under different LLC names. What the recommendations are from the state, not so much from the state, but what other municipalities are making, or what recommendations from pro housing advocates are saying, is that if you limit the amount of units owned to one, so basically, you know, if you're limited to one, it prevents LLCs from hiding behind multiple LLCs, so. And it also gives, so if you are a tenant that lives with somebody who's renting out, you know, an apartment in their building, or if you're an on-site landlord, and you just have that one unit, then you're kind of in the clear. I mean, it does allow landlords to actually increase rents beyond that CPI, but they have to demonstrate what they're doing. X number of improvements, that this is the price of their insurance went up by this much, there has to be a clear and cohesive explanation of why they're increasing rent to the degree that they are. And there's also a luxury exemption, which is 345% of area fair market rate on apartments. So for studios in our area, that ranges, the fair market rate is 1,300 to 1,850. I think you'd be really lucky to find a market a studio or one bedroom in town for 1,300 to 1,850. So it kind of crunches down on that. I would love to bring this to the table today, but I think we're in a little discussion about it. But there's also other things that have more to do with zoning. There's resolution language that's recommended for this, and that's been vetted and adopted by the other municipalities. So it's a pretty basic and pretty proven language, but I'm hoping to kind of bring this in and then quickly thereafter bring in some zoning updates. So that's my spiel.
Thank you. Any questions for Councilperson Krolkoff?
But like, so I'll be interested to see the sample when you have it, because I think there's a lot of goodness to doing this kind of a thing. Because we're trying to solve this problem, as we're saying, with all these hikes, and people who are long-term residents have to leave because of all this rent hikes. So I'm looking forward to seeing.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of, I mean, one of the most famous things that I've seen a lot is people, or landlords just like painting covering up molded paint or just painting the thing, being like, look, it's great, and it's not, right? So this really puts the onus on landlords to do the right thing in a big way. It's just a pretty simple, if you're doing the right thing as a tenant, you sort of stay. So.
Yeah, because I think we've all heard stories of people that you're told that their month to month is up in 30 days notice, and then someone comes in at triple the rent. And it's unsustainable now. It's very.
So the other thing that I did want to point out, the zoning revision committee has really been on hiatus pretty much this year. And I know I've sent a couple of emails to the town board. The key thing about law changes is if the town board wants it, it's worth working on. If the town board hasn't said they want it, it made sense to me to wait until the town board was asking for something. I just want to point out, if you do want to make zoning changes, I'm more than happy to have the zoning revision committee help do those things. It's just, it makes sense to work on things, being a new board, until the board has said, hey, we need this or that. It didn't make sense to go working on things that was not important.
No,
if you're happy, if you want to help with some of the zoning committee.
Because between the short-term rental task force and their recommendations, and the zoning task force and everything that's been done last week, there's a few things that are small but really efficient, and that other municipalities have taken on, that if we took on would be huge for.
Well, I think the STRs is we were working on that as of the end of last year. And again, if this board would like the zoning revision committee to take up STRs again, if this is something that's on this list, the list of this board, I'm certainly happy to.
Yeah, I think most of it's revisiting, because I think a lot of the recommendations were there and they just never got addressed. So it's kind of going back and making sure they're still topical and they're still.
Well, yeah, I think it'll be, so maybe that's a topic for another day. We can try to brainstorm, and people can weigh in on what you'd like to see, and I'm surely happy to resume
Awesome.
that, thank you.
Lily, are you aware of any other towns at similar sizes where this is?
No, we would be the smallest, I think the next smallest on the list would probably be Beacon, but everything else.
And has something in past,
Beacon,
they're working.
so Beacon opted in for the same language that New York City passed, so it's, and I think as far as I know, Albany, Kingston, Poughkeepsie, I think that Beacon and Newburgh all have the same language in their resolutions that they passed. I think the only difference might be in the luxury exemption and potentially a number of units owned by landlords. But a lot of them, I think went up for one unit.
Cause I
There might
remember,
be some that went to 10 units being the,
cause I
that would
remember,
apply to anyone with over 10 units.
Kingston, I know it's not that far back,
Yeah,
where they brought it forward, but it, can't remember where it left off. Whether, I don't think it passed. Did it pass
They
when
I believe so.
this past year, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure, cause I just something I'm thinking about.
I think we might talk about the rent control, but.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
maybe that's what I'm thinking about, that is not, okay.
Is there any difference in the language, because it seems like the municipalities that have passed, that started cities and we're not a city, does it matter to the language of the municipal?
I can't find any reason that it would. I mean, especially for us, I think, again, like the only places where you have kind of some flexibility, if you want to be changed, is this the LLC loophole, so limiting it to one, I mean. If we have entities that own more than 10 units in New York State. In our town, which we probably do. I mean, we have entities that own more than 10 units in Woodstock at this point. So, I mean, that's kind of why I was going the recommendation with limiting it to one. Because then it really puts, right,
Yeah, and that could be a good springboard too for SDRs, like for example. You know, corporation owns SDRs in Woodstock, should they even have a license?
yeah, it's a good model for, if this works for. Fair tenant, long-term tenant protection, then it could very ultimately be translated in certain ways to issue. So it's.
Has the housing committee weighed in?
No, not yet, but Anna's smiling at me. But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna kind of present something a little bit more whole to you guys, and I talk about some of the other things in terms of zoning, short term, so. It's kind of a package deal, but. I think it's actually.
Excuse me, is the public allowed to ask a question?
Not yet, we're gonna move into public be heard, so this is not the back and forth, but right after the end of the meeting, you'd be able to speak with the council person. So we're moving into public be heard, and this is where the board, there are so many faces in the audience today. So the board is not going to answer any questions, we're not going to respond to anything. But this is our chance to hear you talk for 3 minutes if you've signed up. I'll turn it over to Megan.
What do I do, stand, sit?
You can sit right over there if you're good with it, or you can sit in the chair if it's easier for you over there. Whatever works.
Do we have a countdown?
Go right ahead.
Hi, everybody, I'm Jacqueline Manganaro, I'm a disability advocate. I am the creator of Project Access. Chief of Police and all the police officers work very closely with me. They're doing a fabulous job. I'm noticing less abuse of people illegally parking. They're up there. The problem is, fine is only $25. California, the fine is $650. New Jersey, $250. Albany, New York, where I started this project, $250. You pay up. There's no getting out of it. Here, $25 is a drop in the bucket. It's not even taken seriously. And in talking to the court clerk, I understand they don't pursue these tickets, and these officers are out there spending their time for $25. You also promised me about 5 years ago to bring that fine up to $125, Laura. And nothing's been moved on it at all, as far as I know. if there's any meetings again regarding project access, I think it's only fair that I'm included since it is sort of my baby. Okay, cause I know that there was a meeting of which I was not included. That was a little disturbing to me. But you had just explained to me that there'll be a meeting coming up where I will be included.
Yes.
Okay, I did sit on the green a lot this weekend. And saw a lot of abuse. And also got abused a lot verbally, which is very normal because when you approach somebody and you're doing something wrong, you get highly defensive. And the big excuse is, I was only here for 1 minute. That's 1 minute too long. These spaces are designated for people with disabilities. And the abuse of it has to stop, including the parking lots. Like there's no accessible parking in the $10 lot. You have not one handicap parking space in any of these lots up here in Cuomo. Other than the food pantry, which the ramp is really slippery and steep. And the Historical Society gets an A+ for me. They have a great ramp leading up into their building, also a perfect place for parking. So I was very floored to find out that all of these lots have not one accessible parking space. That's unacceptable. It's all about inclusion, folks. I'll say this over and over again, not exclusion. Disability does not discriminate. I'm a retired EMT. I've seen it all. People going out on their normal day and something tragically or fatalities happening. So what I'm requesting is I want that fine to go up to $125, make it worth the police department's time. And that money, I believe, there is no surcharge. So that the fine would go straight to the town. My goal is to maybe put that money aside for storefronts that have steps. There's these 32, I sent you a picture. There's these $32 ramps. You can simply put in front of the store, at least make it welcoming. Yeah, our stores are small. It's gonna be hard to get a wheelchair, but we have to welcome people. We really do, and that's just cold shutting people out, it's discriminatory. And I've been on this battle for 14 years, it should have never taken that long, period. That's all I want to say, please do not exclude me from my project, because that's not fair. And I know what I'm doing, I've been doing this for years. And obviously, Chief, you can admit to it that there has been a great change and less abuse of the spaces.
Yes.
Thank you, Jacqueline.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Anna, Anna Mohan. I want to be clear, I'm speaking as behalf of a private citizen, I'm not speaking on behalf of the housing committee, speaking as a private citizen. So I wanted to talk on the topic of housing, specifically, I did want to bring up the topic of rent control or a rent cap. As somebody who rents in town and who, is set on putting roots here and staying here for a long time. Currently, my apartment is about 500 square feet. I pay $1,800 a month, not including utilities. And that is not unusual for the area. It's difficult to try and live independently. I have a roommate in that 500 square foot apartment because I could not afford it otherwise. Rent in Ulster County for a livable wage, which means you can pay your insurance, you can pay your rent, you can pay your utilities, you can pay travel costs, you can afford food, is $34.02 an hour currently. That is the living wage in Ulster County. So when you're talking about Councilperson Goldcliff had mentioned, if you want a studio, you're looking probably at about like $2,000 up to $2,400 is what I see, on the Woodstock board pretty frequently, which is just not sustainable. It's not doable. Whether we're talking about affordable housing projects or if we're talking about private projects that people have, I think instituting something like the good cause eviction law, which is great, very happy to hear about that, or looking at a rent cap would protect residents. It would allow people to stay in town and it would make it easier for young people who do want to stay to be able to stay. I will say that personally, I'm in a very privileged position with my job. Most people are not. Most people are not. Most people are making probably about $18 to $19 an hour, especially when you're talking about the industry of our town, which is restaurants, it's the service industry, right? tips don't make up the difference when you're making $17 an hour. And that is what a lot of people are making. So I just ask that you consider that. All the various housing projects we're working on, again, either town-based or private. I think that that would be a way to protect citizens and to protect people who want to stay here for a long time. Again, very happy to hear about the good cause eviction. And I do hope you consider that as an option as well. So that's all I'm going to say.
Thanks, Anna.
Hi, everyone. I wanted to follow up on it and to what Anna said for sure, 100%. The only thing I would say, I agree with her 100%, and what I wanted to also say is, the only thing about the cap is there's 3 criteria to have rent control, and because we looked at that as a previous housing. That you can't, so the 3 things that we generally don't have in rural areas is 1, the building has to have a certain minimum of like 9 or 10 units. It has to be 50 years old, and then there has to be the thing that is determines the vacancy rate, which has to be under 5%. We're -1 since 2016. So we're covered there. It's just getting a building that has the amount to be able to do the rent control. But they may have updated laws, and so I would say definitely look into it and find out for sure, because there might be something a little different that might apply to rural areas. The other thing I want to say is I think it was Jonathan Hefner, who was the one that was doing the good cause eviction law. He was championing that on the Ulster County legislative level, and he fought for that for a while. This is back around 2020, when it was really getting out of control. So I would say maybe ask him when he's not in politics anymore, but he might come and speak to it. So that might be worth, or they can talk to him about that, because he's pretty steeped on that, fought for that. I mean, it did pass, and then I think something else happened, it got revoked. I don't know, something weird happened. I remember.
2018.
It was weird.
2018, oh, sorry.
2020, and then like
Right.
2021 or something went through, and then it might have gone backwards. I'm trying to hurry up. The other thing is that I think when it comes to LLC, this is where we had a problem. We had big discussions about this as well. This is to you, councilperson Lily. I think you need to connect the person, her family, marriage, or parentage to one LLC, because that's another loophole of how they get around the law. So I have an LLC, then my brother has another LLC, then my kid who's 18 has an LLC, even though I'm the one managing all of it. So that's how that gets around to, that's another loophole. I wanna say, I think it's very brave and responsible and important, and I've been waiting that you guys are doing the audit. I think this is really important. There's been a couple things that have been just like jaw dropping going on around from the last regime, that I'm just really happy that we're now going to deal with that, because we're coming upon budgetary in the future, and we've got to figure out what do we have, where are things loose, it's a little too loosey-goosey. This is like stuff that, anyway. And I wanted to say to you, thank you for your service. And Michelle, thank you for your service. And I'm hoping that everybody can be professional and just like team for the town. And that's it. Thank you.
The question I had about the house,
Here's what we're gonna
You
do
can
the meeting after. Yeah, we're motion to adjourn the meeting.
okay,
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
almost ready.
Jackie, go.